All right, let's dive in
Okay.
to something you probably think you know pretty well, the
Yeah.
Titanic.
Yeah.
But today, we're
Right.
going beyond just, the sinking in the movie.
Sure.
We're going to look at why this ship is still so fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
even over a century later.
A good question.
Yeah, and to help us out, we've got some great insights
Oh, good.
from an interview with Daniel Stone.
Oh.
He wrote this book, Sinkable, Obsession, the Deep Sea, and the Shipwreck of the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
And he makes this really interesting point about timing.
Okay.
Like, if the Titanic had gone down just 20 years before,
Uh-huh.
it might have been just another, sad shipwreck.
I see.
Not this global phenomenon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it happened right when communication technology
Oh, yeah.
was having this, huge leap forward.
At just the right time.
Exactly.
Right.
So suddenly, this tragedy, it's
Yeah.
not some far-off event.
Right.
It's unfolding in real time for people
Yeah.
all over the world.
That's incredible.
But even with that, wouldn't the Titanic's size and weight have been just this impossible hurdle to overcome?
I mean, it definitely was a huge challenge logistically,
Yeah.
but I think the way the story got told,
Okay.
that's a big part of why it stuck with people.
So you're saying it's more than just the facts.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you had 700 survivors,
Right.
each one
Wow.
with this
Oh, wow.
harrowing story to tell.
Yeah.
They became like these living reminders of what happened.
Living embodiments of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And newspapers were filled with firsthand accounts.
Right.
So you weren't just reading about numbers.
Yeah.
You were reading about people's experiences.
Okay, so that personal connection made a big difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about something else
Sure.
that we always hear about with the Titanic.
Okay.
Women and children first.
Right?
I always thought that was standard procedure
Yeah, a lot of people do.
for any shipwreck.
It's a powerful image,
Hmm.
of chivalry and sacrifice.
Yeah.
But the truth is, men actually had higher survival rates.
Really?
Yeah, in most shipwrecks throughout history.
Ah, I never knew that.
And the Titanic is unique
Okay.
because it sank so slowly.
Right.
That 2.5-hour window,
Wow.
it got create a whole different dynamic.
Okay.
This heightened sense of urgency.
So people had time to think about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It made that night on the Titanic
Right.
a powerful example,
I see.
even if it wasn't the norm.
So it's more about the specific circumstances
Yeah.
than some maritime tradition.
Okay.
Okay, now when I picture the Titanic sinking,
Uh-huh.
I kind of imagine it just, gracefully gliding down
Oh.
to the ocean floor.
Not quite.
Oh, really?
It was actually much more violent than that.
Wow. Okay.
Researchers use this term shipfall to describe it.
Shipfall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really interesting to study.
I bet, like a forensic investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
But for a shipwreck.
Right. By studying how ships break apart,
Uh-huh.
we can learn how to build them better
Right.
and make them safer.
That makes sense.
So in the Titanic's case, the bow,
So that's the front.
the front plummeted down first,
Okay.
like a missile,
Wow.
at 30 miles an hour.
And what about the rest?
The stern,
The back.
descended more horizontally,
Okay.
slower speed, but still with immense force.
So the difference between a head-on collision
Exactly.
and a side swipe.
Yeah, both devastating,
Wow.
but in different ways.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the power of the ocean is incredible.
Now, we can't talk about the Titanic
But yeah, well,
without mentioning the dreamers.
yeah, the ones who wanted to bring it back.
Exactly. And one of the most interesting is Charles Smith,
Well,
this architect from Denver,
Right,
who came up with this plan just 2 years after the sinking.
1914.
Yeah, a time of crazy technological optimism.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Smith wanted to use submarines with electromagnets
Uh-huh.
to find the Titanic and winch it up.
It's like something out of a Jules Verne novel.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And there are these historical interviews where he's
Good.
laying out his whole vision,
Uh-huh.
returning the ship to its owners,
Right.
recovering bodies for proper burial.
And people were into it.
Yeah, the public was actually enthralled by the idea.
That's amazing.
Newspapers and engineering journals were buzzing.
Oh.
But how realistic was this plan, really?
Well, Smith's plan shows a misunderstanding of the deep sea.
Okay.
Electromagnets don't work well underwater,
Right.
especially at that depth.
Yeah.
And finding the Titanic among so many other wrecks.
Just like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus the pressure down there.
Oh, and the pressure's a huge factor too.
Right.
His plan also relied on tons of surface ships.
So many moving parts.
Yeah, working perfectly together.
Logistically, that's a nightmare.
Oh, for sure, even with today's technology.
Okay, so his failure wasn't from lack of trying,
No,
but just from
it was just impossible.
the impossible task.
Yeah. Now, just a year before the Titanic went down,
Yeah.
they raised the USS Maine
Right.
successfully.
Uh-huh.
Did that give people false hope for the Titanic?
I think it might have.
Oh, okay.
The Maine sank in Havana Harbor,
Okay.
less than 100 feet deep.
So pretty shallow.
Yeah, compared to the Titanic,
Right.
which is over 12,000 feet down.
Wow. Okay, so it's like retrieving a coin from a pool
Yeah.
versus plucking a dime from the Mariana Trench.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It shows the difference in scale and complexity.
for sure.
Okay, so raising the Maine,
Right.
while amazing for its time,
Uh-huh.
gave people this false sense of what was possible.
I think so.
It fueled that belief that the Titanic could also be brought back.
Yeah, I see that.
But that didn't stop people from trying, did it?
No, it didn't.
We had Doug Woolley,
Oh, yeah.
this guy who dedicated his life to owning the Titanic.
He was obsessed.
Yeah, so in the 50s and 60s,
Mhm.
when no one had a clear claim on the wreck.
Ray Woolley saw his chance.
Wow.
Wait, so you can just declare yourself the owner of a shipwreck?
Legally. No, not really.
Okay.
But Woolley,
Yeah?
he just went ahead and did it.
Really?
He put ads in newspapers,
What?
declaring himself the owner of the Titanic.
That's bold.
Yeah.
Did it actually work, though?
Well, his legal claim didn't hold up,
Okay.
but he got a ton of attention.
That's something.
Yeah, newspapers ate it up.
So he was a master of publicity,
He was
even if his ownership was,
questionable,
yeah, a little dubious.
but owning the Titanic wasn't enough for him.
No, he also wanted to raise it,
Of course.
and his plan
Oh, it was wild.
was even more elaborate than Smith's.
Magnets, ultrasonic booms, hydrogen-filled pontoons.
Hold on, hydrogen-filled pontoons?
Yeah.
How would that even work?
He wanted to use magnets to find the wreck
Okay.
and then separate it from the seabed with a sonic blast.
A sonic blast.
Yeah, and the pontoons.
Right.
He'd fill them with hydrogen generated from seawater.
So basically turning the Titanic into a giant underwater blimp.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, now I know they used pontoons
Right.
to raise the SS Great Britain,
Uh-huh. Successfully.
but that was in much shallower water.
Yeah, that's the key difference.
Okay.
The SS Great Britain was a remarkable feat,
Yeah.
but the Titanic is over 2 miles down.
So not even comparable.
No, not really.
Okay, so Woolley's plan, while creative,
Oh, definitely.
didn't quite grasp the immensity of the task.
He was ambitious.
Yeah. But it's fascinating to see how these different attempts
I know, right?
built on each other.
Each one fueled by the allure of the Titanic.
And it wasn't just individuals.
No.
Even the CIA got in on the action.
Really?
During the Cold War, they had this top secret mission
What was it?
to raise a sunken Soviet submarine
Wow, okay.
using a giant claw.
A claw.
Yeah, lowered thousands of feet into the Pacific.
Did they get it?
It was partially successful,
Okay.
but super expensive and complex.
Yeah, these deep sea operations. They're not easy.
So they got some of the sub,
Right.
which gave them valuable intel.
Right.
But it shows how challenging
Yeah.
deep sea salvage is, even for the CIA.
Yeah.
Now, remember that time zone issue we talked about?
Uh,
That actually delayed the discovery of the Titanic
really?
for over 70 years.
Wow.
So back then, ships manually adjusted their clocks as they
Right.
crossed time zones.
Right.
And there's evidence that in the chaos of the sinking, that might have been overlooked.
I see.
So the coordinates they broadcasted
Yeah.
might have been off.
Just because of the time.
Exactly.
Right.
And even a discrepancy of like 10 months
Listen, the vastness of the Atlantic.
could throw off the search.
That's crazy.
And then in 1985,
Uh-huh.
Bob Ballard and his team,
Yeah.
they found the Titanic
Finally.
using underwater robots.
Wow.
And their discovery revealed a truth that kind of shattered some dreams.
Oh, what was it?
The wreckage was way more deteriorated than anyone expected,
Yeah.
confirmed that the ship broke in half.
So no raising it intact.
Yeah, that dream was over.
That's sad.
But the Titanic still captivated people.
Of course.
And in 1998,
Huh?
they brought up a massive section of the hull,
Really?
nicknamed the Big Piece.
Okay.
And get this,
Yeah.
during the recovery, this multi-ton chunk
Wow.
slipped back into the ocean,
Oh, no.
and they had to re-raise it.
That's a kid's.
Talk about a close call.
Yeah.
It eventually ended up in Las Vegas
Oh,
at
wow.
a Titanic exhibit.
That's amazing.
A piece of the Titanic in the middle of the desert.
It shows you just how much the Titanic is embedded in our culture.
And it's not the only example, right?
No, not at all.
You've got the land-based replicas.
Oh, yeah.
Full-scale models of the ship.
Yeah, there are 2 half-scale replicas.
Okay.
One in Branson, Missouri,
Okay.
and the other in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
And there's a full-scale one being built in China.
Yeah.
These attractions.
I know, it's wild.
They're not even close to where the real Titanic was.
Right?
But they show how people want to experience the ship.
It's a global fascination.
It's incredible that over a century later,
I know, it's amazing.
the Titanic still inspires this kind of response.
It's like this tragedy
Yeah.
turned into a cultural phenomenon.
So we've gone from the technical aspects of shipfall
Right.
to the psychology of obsession, and now we're talking about Titanic tourism.
It's like this ship has tentacles
Yeah.
reaching into every part of our culture.
It makes you wonder if technology allowed it today, would we even want to raise the Titanic?
That's a great question.
Would it be ethical
It's definitely something to think about.
to disturb a site that's become a final resting place?
Right, for so many people.
So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we're going to
sorry.
bring it back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
What is it about the Titanic that captivates you?
Have your thoughts changed at all?
Yeah, after hearing all of this.
Maybe you're more interested in the historical side now.
Right.
Or maybe the human stories
Yeah.
of those who were lost and those who survived.
Or the sheer engineering marvel of the ship itself.
Right.
It's clear that the Titanic story resonates on so many levels.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a tale of tragedy and hubris, but also innovation
Resilience.
and the enduring power of human connection.
Yeah, like that.
We'll continue exploring these themes in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Yay!
It's amazing how the Titanic still gets people talking,
Yeah.
even after all these years.
Yeah, it's like this story that just keeps drawing us in.
And Daniel Stone, in his book Sinkable,
Uh-huh.
he talks about the Titanic as this story that's got, all these big human elements:
Oh, yeah, like what?
tragedy, triumph, cowardice, bravery.
Hubris and failure.
Exactly.
It's all there.
And those themes are timeless, right?
Yeah, they are.
They speak to us no matter what time period we live in.
It makes you think about all the what ifs,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What if they hadn't hit the iceberg?
Right. Or what if the distress calls
Yeah.
got through sooner?
It's natural to wonder about that stuff.
Definitely.
But the reality is a lot of things went wrong.
A perfect storm of bad decisions.
And one thing that doesn't get talked about enough
Oh, yeah.
is the role of speed.
Oh, that's a good point.
The Titanic was going pretty fast.
Right.
Even though they knew there was ice in the area.
So they were pushing it
Yeah, I think there was pressure,
to make a good time on the maiden voyage.
Right. To show off what the ship could do.
Exactly. A combination of ambition.
And maybe a little bit of hubris.
Oh, yeah. Definitely some hubris in there.
It's almost like the Titanic itself
Mm-hmm.
became a symbol of that whole era.
That relentless pursuit of progress.
Yeah, progress at any cost.
But it also shows you what can happen.
When you push the boundaries too far.
Exactly. It's a lesson that's still relevant today.
Especially with all the new technologies we're dealing with.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to remember
that even our most advanced creations can be vulnerable.
Okay, so let's talk about the aftermath.
Okay.
The investigation and the changes that came after.
Yeah, that was a big turning point.
The sinking of the Titanic had a huge impact on maritime safety,
Oh, for sure.
like lifeboat capacity, 24-hour radio operation,
Right. Making sure someone's always listening.
and the International Ice Patrol.
All because of the Titanic.
So the Titanic's legacy isn't just about the ship itself.
It's about the lessons learned.
Right, and the steps taken to make sure it never happened again.
Yeah, exactly. It saved countless lives.
It's a testament to the idea that
Even from a horrible loss.
we can find a way to create something positive,
To make things better.
to make things better, exactly.
It speaks to that human spirit of resilience,
That desire to learn from our mistakes,
And that's another reason why the Titanic still resonates with us.
because it shows that even in the face of tragedy...
There's potential for growth and progress.
Okay, so shifting gears back to the wreckage itself.
No.
What's it actually like down there?
It's pretty desolate down there.
Yeah.
A vast landscape with debris scattered everywhere.
Personal belongings too, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. You see remnants of people's lives.
Wow, that must be a heavy experience.
It is. It's very powerful and moving.
I can only imagine.
Divers who've been down there,
Yeah.
talk about feeling a mix of awe and respect and sadness.
Yeah, it sounds like more than just a bunch of wreckage.
It's a sacred space.
Right, a memorial to those who were lost.
That's how a lot of people see it.
And it brings me to a question I've been thinking about.
What's that?
If we could raise the Titanic
Uh-huh.
perfectly intact,
Okay.
without disturbing anything.
Like a perfect salvage operation.
Yeah, should we?
That's a tough one.
Right.
There are strong arguments on both sides.
What?
Some people think we should raise it.
Preserve it for future generations.
Exactly. And learn more about what happened that night.
I can see that.
But others say it should stay where it is.
Out of respect.
Yeah, respect for those who died. And because it's a reminder of what happened.
So it's a balance between scientific curiosity.
And ethical considerations.
Yeah, tough call.
It's a debate that's probably going to continue.
As long as people are fascinated by the Titanic.
Exactly.
So what do you think, listener?
Should we try to bring it back?
Or leave it undisturbed as a memorial?
It's a question that makes us think about our relationship with history.
And memory.
And the legacy of this incredible ship.
The Titanic story, even though it's a tragedy,
Yeah.
offers valuable lessons.
About human ambition.
The power of nature.
And the importance of remembering.
It's a reminder that even when we face huge loss,
We can still learn and grow.
and create a better future.
That's a good takeaway.
We'll keep exploring these themes in part 3,
Okay, sounds good.
where we'll look at the Titanic's cultural impact.
On art, literature, and film.
It's going to be interesting.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we've been talking about, the technical side of the sinking
Uh-huh.
and the people obsessed with raising the ship.
Right, those dreamers.
Now I want to talk about the Titanic's impact on our culture.
Yeah, because it's definitely more than just a shipwreck.
Oh yeah, this ship's a global icon.
It really is.
And it's not just about the historical event itself.
No, it's how that event's been reinterpreted,
Reimagined
woven into our collective consciousness,
through art, literature.
and especially film.
I mean, I think most people, even if they haven't studied the Titanic,
Right.
they've probably seen James Cameron's movie.
Oh, yeah, the 1997 film.
That was huge.
Oh, it was a global phenomenon.
And it did something really interesting.
What's that?
It brought the Titanic to life.
For a whole new generation.
Exactly.
Wow.
Suddenly, the story wasn't just about a tragedy.
It was a love story.
An action adventure.
A visual spectacle.
Right. It gave people a way to connect with it emotionally.
And it sparked a whole new wave of interest in the ship.
It's funny how fiction can sometimes bring history closer.
Oh, definitely. I
Yeah.
think that's the power of storytelling.
Cameron's film took some liberties with the historical facts.
Sure, but it captured the essence of the Titanic's allure.
The grandeur, the tragedy,
The human
what
element.
had got people interested in seeing artifacts.
Exhibitions and even those replicas we talked about.
Exact.
Speaking of replicas,
Okay.
it's interesting why people are so drawn to them.
It's not like visiting a real historical site,
Right, it's more of an interpretation.
a recreation,
Yeah, but maybe it's about trying to connect with the past.
in a more tangible way.
Yeah, like walking those decks.
Even if it's not the real ship.
Right. Gives you a sense of what life on the Titanic was like.
The opulence and the vulnerability.
Like stepping into a time capsule.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's a carefully constructed one.
And that desire to connect with the past, that's a big part of the Titanic's legacy.
We see it in all the books and documentaries.
Right. Each one offering a different perspective.
Or uncovering some new detail.
Yeah, like there's always something more to learn.
I think there's also something about the Titanic that speaks to our fascination with disaster.
Oh, yeah.
This idea that something so grand
So seemingly indestructible.
could be taken down by something as simple as an iceberg.
There's a certain irony there.
Right, this symbol of human progress,
Of technological achievement.
undone by nature's indifference.
It's a cautionary tale,
It reminds us that we're not always in control.
no matter how advanced we think we are.
The Titanic's become a metaphor.
For the limits of human ambition,
The fragility of life.
the power of nature.
Exactly.
And you see these themes in all kinds of art inspired by the Titanic.
Oh, yeah, like paintings, sculptures, music.
All using the ship as a way to express loss and memory.
It's amazing how one event can inspire so much creativity.
Across different cultures and time periods,
It shows you the power of the Titanic's story.
it keeps evolving, taking on new meanings.
As we face our own challenges today.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
it's clear we've only scratched the surface.
The Titanic and its story are more than just history. They're part of our culture, inspiring reflection and debate.
A sense of wonder that connects generations.
The Titanic reminds us that history is more than facts and dates.
It's about the human stories, the lessons learned.
And the legacy that shapes who we are.
I like that.
And on that note,
Yeah.
I'll leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
What will the Titanic's legacy be in another 100 years?
Will it fade away, or will it still captivate people?
That's a question for all of us to think about.
But one thing's for sure, the Titanic story
With all its complexity,
will keep being told.
reminding us of human resilience and the mystery of the deep.
It's a story that will never truly sink.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Titanic.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've come away with a new appreciation.
For this iconic ship and its impact on the world.
Until next time.